I'm really happy to have two of YouTube's biggest stars joining us today here in Cannes. I think Phan, Freddie W, kind of two of our most iconic stars.
Hi everyone.
Michelle, you know, what's I think really interesting about both of these creators is that they've risen up, you know, through the YouTube ecosystem. They both joined YouTube about 6 or 7 years ago when they put their first videos on the platform and have seen kind of amazing success since then. Michelle has over 2.5 million subscribers, and in many ways, you know, when we think about YouTube and we think about fashion and beauty videos on the platform, that wasn't a format of content that really existed prior to Michelle getting started. And it's now actually a major vertical. It's something that she helped create, which is very exciting. And Freddie is an amazing filmmaker. He has channels. He has over 7 million subscribers on his channel. And so we're going to talk today about their creativity, how they got started, and what's helped drive their success. So please join me in welcoming them to the stage. So guys, what I would love to hear about is, how you got started. Like, what brought you to YouTube in the beginning, back in 2006, and what was were those early experiences like on the platform?
I think when we first started out, I was doing direct-to-DVD and direct-to-TV movies. I think there were several of them were shopped around the marketplace here at Cannes, and they're really bad movies. They're the kind of movies that it's like, oh, we need to have. And one of the movies was a horror movie. It's called Bear. It had a bear in it. That's the whole pitch. And it sold great. Germany bought it. It was fantastic. Japan bought it on the poster alone, which was a bear. That was it. But it was really unfulfilling to do, these sort of direct-to-DVD movies. One, because they're bad, and two, because nobody ever really sees them, and when you're finished with them, it takes months for you to find distribution, and by the time you find distribution, you're on to your next project. So as a filmmaker, you never really get any feedback from it. You sort of make it, you throw it out there, and then nothing happens. So we'd always been looking at YouTube early on as a place where people were starting to put up videos and starting to build an audience first around what they were doing. And so the thought was to let's focus on this, let's focus on making an audience first and foremost. And then with an audience, we can do sort of whatever we want. And it was a much more fulfilling process because you had that back and forth feedback. When we put something up, someone was there already, people were watching it and passing it around and sharing it. So that's really how everything got started.
Yeah, for me, I was a college student looking for a job and applied for different positions at different makeup counters at department stores, and didn't really get my call back. And one lady said, you know what? You seem like you really love makeup, you're passionate about it, but you don't have sales experience, so unfortunately we can't hire you. And I said, I'm not gonna stop pursuing my love for beauty and makeup. I still wanna teach it, and I even told myself, how do I learn how to make makeup? Or how do I learn how to use makeup? I either read them in books or I have to go to the beauty counter. And I saw YouTube and I thought, oh my gosh, bingo, why not just create these beauty tutorials where people can just watch them at home, comfort of their home, like in their bedroom or in their bathroom, and you have unlimited time to take your time and apply makeup. And so I opened up my laptop and I shot my first video, and I had to learn everything on the fly. I had to learn how to edit, and I had to learn how to shoot, and didn't expect anyone to watch it when I had the video uploaded on YouTube. And within the first week, it got 40,000 views, and so many women all over the world, they were asking, can you show me how to do smoky eye? Can you show me how to get rid of my acne? And that was really the beginning of this amazing career.
Great. Was there a moment for either of you where you realized that, this was going to be bigger than what you thought it might be, when it first got started?
Well, I think is when we sort of put up one of the earlier videos and we started seeing the views that it was getting, and then understanding that it wasn't just going to stop, the view count. The view count was going to keep on going. And having seen it and having, experimented around and putting videos out there, it was one of those sort of understandings like, oh, this is kind of the way to go if you want to be a content creator, if you want to be a filmmaker. It's not to go to some, at the very least, it's like if you have an audience built in, right? If you've built up an audience first, then if you're even going the more traditional route, it's a much more powerful sort of negotiating position as a filmmaker to be able to say, hey, I'm not just some kid fresh out of film school, and here's my cool short film that you may have seen. It's, hey, I'm a filmmaker, and here's my audience that I'm bringing with me to it. And it's a different sort of relationship then when it comes to filmmaking.
For me, it was when Lancome contacted me and they wanted me to become their official online ambassador. And it was ironic because 2 years before that, I applied for a job at a Lancome counter, didn't get the gig, and here's like the official Lancome headquarters contacted me, and I thought, delayed gratification, finally. And so that was really the sign for me to kind of put my schooling on hold. You know, I finished my junior year, I only had my thesis senior year left, and I said, I'm gonna take a shot. You know, an opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Something happens, if it doesn't work out, there's always school, I can go back and finish it. I have one more year left. And so I took the chance and I pursued this crazy idea of becoming an online entrepreneur, and everyone kept thinking like, Michelle, like just finish school, or Michelle, you're crazy, like why are you quitting your job, like this is the recession. This was in 2008, like the recession just happened, you're quitting your job. And I said, you know what, I feel like this is the future, and it was. It is.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we always talk about at YouTube is the fact that it's an interactive platform, so different from television, which is predominantly one way. YouTube has, you know, two-way flows of communication. So how important is that to everything that you guys have been doing? Like, how important are your fans? How do you stay connected with them? Things of that nature.
No, it's
it's
important, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely important. I mean, so it affects a lot of the decision making. It's a relationship that as like a filmmaker you haven't ever had, right? But in the past, it's always like you make a movie and it goes out there, and then you might have some fan interaction here and there, but it's a very sort of limited thing. You sort of put the movie out there and the movie sort of speaks for you. But you've never had the tool set or the ability to speak to the fans in a way that can be helpful, you know, in a way that you can say, oh, you know what, this doesn't work, or this is something that they like, and you can make your decisions based on that. So it's through everything. It's through, you know, YouTube itself, it's through Twitter, it's through Facebook, it's through every sort of platform and tool you have available to you, which is, again, it's unprecedented, and it's also something that's very helpful in terms of doing what we do.
Having a two-way dialogue is so important when you're building your brand online, because that's your customer, that's your audience, and you have to keep a really close connection and relationship with them. And brands, you know, like when you think of brands, you have the brands and the customers, but what makes us different is that we're the content creators, and we're also the bridge between the brands and the audience and the customers too. And having that relationship is so key to building your business, because essentially that's your customer right there. And when you're creating content, it's made for them. And so having a close connection with them, you know what they like, what they don't like, and they can really help critique you and give you really good critiques, or they can help you transition and become a better artist. And I know for me, like, I look at my first video, I'm sure you look at your first video and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's so long ago, and you're always your worst critic, but then you evolve because you evolve with your viewers. And so that's why it's so important to have this two-way dialogue with them.
That's right. And what is your creative process like? Like, how long do you spend planning your videos? How long does it take to create them? And how often are you posting?
So we used to do one a week, and that was sort of like a very sort of grueling schedule, and when we stepped away from that because it was unable to do sort of any other long form thing. But the creative process is very much just like, it's very much a process. It's very much something that you have to practice that. It's not like sort of ideas come and inspiration strikes, but it's a very iterative process, you know. So an idea will come and you'll sort of talk it through, and then as you're even shooting it, so every step of the way there might be changes along to it as you're working, you know. So the team that I work with and my friends, you know, we kick ideas around all the time, and when we're shooting it, we change things up, and when we're editing it, we change things up, you know, even up until the very sort of last moment that you edit, there might be a joke that you throw in there, things like that. So it's always sort of an evolving and ongoing process throughout the course of creation.
Right. And with digital, I mean, it's not like a magazine where you can work so many months in advance. I don't have that luxury. I have to work week by week, because trends, sometimes online trends will just happen. Like, you can't really predict them, and you have to like just be on it or be ahead of the trends. And I would say for my creative process, I get a lot of my ideas and inspiration from my audience. Like, they're constantly sending me like videos and looks and requests for like prom or wedding makeup tutorials, and it's so easy. I mean, they do all the heavy lifting for me. They come up with the ideas and I create the videos for them. And so I think that's why also there is a very close connection, because you are creating content for a very specific audience that, you know, they care about what you create, and you know, they're loyal fans. And so after like getting the ideas, then I start shooting it, and it probably takes me like a day to edit, because I edit myself. And I think pre-production probably takes another day to like get everything, get the backgrounds and the costume. So I would say probably like it would take a week to get one substantial video up.
Yeah. And Freddie, how about for you? How about for one of your videos? How long?
Oh, in terms of the length of it, at this point, we're focusing on doing sort of longer form series. So we're sort of third season of our show, Video Game High School, right now, and we're in post production on it. And so, from inception to completion of that's a course of maybe 8 months, something like that, for a series. Sort of like multiple episode series. For the shorts, anywhere from something that we come up in 2 days. So I think our fastest we've ever done a short was 48 hours from the moment we're like, hey, this is a good idea, to finishing it. And then, weeks, month or so in terms of just being able to finesse it and get it right.
Tell us a little bit about, Freddie, your production process, because when you watch your videos, the level of special effects, I mean, it rivals things that you might go to a movie theater to see. Like, can you tell us how you guys achieve that?
See, a lot of that stuff was because a lot of sort of my special effects background was out of necessity rather than like a desire to become like a visual effects artist. And I think probably one of the earliest things that I did was a lightsaber fight with my brother, and we sort of swung pool cues at each other and broke both of them. So my parents weren't happy with that. But I made a cool Star Wars video when I was like 8, so it was cool. But one of the things that sort of visual effects wise is like just from that background is out of necessity, and it allows you to do a lot of different things. And it allows you to get away with a lot of sort of production value cheats, and it's been very helpful coming from a background of like, oh, we can't afford to do something, or we don't know how to do something, but here's a way we can cheat it and hack it with visual effects. That understanding, that knowledge has sort of governed a lot of what we do. So it lets us shoot things very cheaply. It lets us make what we shoot look much more expensive than it actually is, and which is very helpful sort of in a time where, well, like, there's so much content out there and everything needs to be made cheaper.
And Michelle, tell us, so you work a lot with brands, and one brand in particular, is it Lancome?
L'Oreal, Lancome.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I understand that you have kind of like a new relationship that you're working on.
Well, I'll give you like a list of different brands I've worked with. So people just think, oh, because I create content for women, I can only, work with brands that are, catered for women. But that's not true. I mean, I've worked with like so many other brands like Toyota, Samsung, Colgate. It's not just beauty and fashion and hair. It's beyond that. And so I think that's also important. Like, don't pigeonhole yourself thinking, okay, well, I make gaming videos, so I can only do gaming sponsorship, or I can only work with gaming brands. I think it's really important to know, like, what is your brand? Are you luxury? Are you mid-luxury? Are you mass friendly? So like understanding that, and for me, I was telling myself, well, I'm kind of like mid-luxury, maybe like more mass, like Target. It's a great way for me to like, okay, I'm more like a Target girl. Yeah. So speaking of which, speaking of Target and all of that, we are now partnering with Amazon. If you guys don't know what Amazon is, it's a store, online store that has amazing shipping.
I think everybody knows what Amazon is.
And this is the first time L'Oreal is partnering with Amazon officially, and it's a pretty big deal. So we're going to be selling my makeup line through Amazon's new luxury beauty site.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. And Freddie, so Rocket Jump Productions is your production company, and you recently formed a relationship with Lionsgate. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where you think that takes you in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's basically allowing us to do, so a plan is for us is to continue doing sort of YouTube shorts and sort of like viral things that people can pass around. But the goal really is to transition to doing longer form series, stuff that we're already doing in like Video Game High School, but also doing more feature length and television length projects. So the deal with Lionsgate allows us to pursue that without having to worry about how you finance projects of those magnitudes. Because it's one thing when you're talking about, oh, let's crank out a video quickly with some friends and do something like that on a weekly basis because your overhead's relatively low. It's another thing entirely when you're saying, okay, we need to shoot a whole series, we have a script, we have a whole crew that we need to pay. It's the financial sort of that world right now is not quite clear, and it's not very well laid in stone. So the Lionsgate deals allows us to do that without having to resort to a lot of the sort of ways that we had to get things financed, even though we are financing things and what we're shooting things at a sort of fraction of television. you have to just draw from so many sources in order to make that even work. So a lot of brand integrations. There's we use a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, self-finance stuff, all together in order to make what we do. Lionsgate allows us to sort of get past that and concentrate on just making cool stuff, which is what we got into the business to do anyway.
And so as you guys branch out, I mean, does that mean YouTube becomes a less important part of your overall kind of business and proposition, or is it still central? How does that work?
No, it's way still central.
It's where eyeballs are, right?
Yeah.
So YouTube is where everyone goes either on their phones, more increasingly on their phones, or just to go watch things. And what things are, might be for, the moment's shorter. But we found a lot of success, with our show having 30-minute long episodes, 40-minute episodes. We had greater engagement off of television-length episodes than we ever did on any of our short 2-minute viral videos, which I think goes against a lot of the prevailing knowledge of like, oh, kids, they want to watch quick, short things. It's like, no, we found that they stuck around for half an hour watching our stuff. So it's where the eyeballs are for this kind of content.
Yeah, it's the world's largest television network if you think about it, YouTube.
And Freddie, you've worked a lot with brands as well, right? With some of your content. Can you talk about some of the brands you've worked with and what you've done with them?
Yeah, so when we were doing sort of weekly virals, we were doing things like stuff like Samsung, AT&T, the mobile phone things. We had Dodge come in as a sort of major sponsor for season 2 of Video Game High School. And a lot of that brand integration was either based on product launches. So for Dodge, they had a car that was coming out there. The Dart was coming out in the summer, which was around the release time, and so it was tied in with the episodes. And for us, our goal with brand integrations is always organically. It's always with the story of what we're doing in mind. So we don't go out of the way to be like, oh, let's do a commercial with something. It's very much like, okay, if Dodge is going to come in, well, we weren't thinking, okay, let's find a car sponsor for season 2. The first question was, okay, we're writing a bunch of car racing scenes, and then from a practical standpoint, okay, we can either make up the names of the cars, or it makes no difference to the story to have that car be an actual branded car, and that's the brand opportunity there. But it's coming from the perspective of like what's organic to the story and what doesn't compromise the content. I think all too often you get situations where brands compromise the content itself, and nobody's gonna. I mean, nowadays you have so many things that you can watch online. You can waste your time however you want, that nobody wants to sit around and watch compromised content, and no one's gonna settle for that. And we're coming into a time where an ad, has to be content in and of itself. It has to be something that people seek out. Because if you don't have to watch a 30-second ad, you don't have to watch it, and you won't watch it. Great. Ads get served up to me all the time. I open up another tab. I'm sure everyone in this audience does that. It's like, it's time to check Facebook. Ads coming up. It's like, oh, good. Let's see what's going on.
Let's check Instagram.
Right? Let's check Reddit. It's like as soon as an ad comes up. So it's like, great. You just made an ad that nobody is watching, even though so if it's not something that people are seeking out on their own, then no one's going to watch it. It's not going to matter.
And what are the keys to success there? So if a brand is gonna, wants to work with you guys and create, content that's more engaging, that acts like advertising, what are some of the secrets to success? Like, how do they need to think about it? Things like that.
I think the first question you have to ask yourself is this a brand I would personally use? Because online content has to be genuine, has to come from within. You're not just making a commercial, you're making content for your audience. So if you're making a blatant commercial, most likely your audience will give you thumbs down. They're probably going to retaliate, and they're not going to like it. They're going to start unsubscribing. They don't want to see that because they see that everywhere else. They just want to go to your channel and watch something genuine. And so I think you have to be more creative and a little more, you have to push the envelope when you're trying to think, okay, how can I integrate this brand into my videos?
Yeah, I think the brand has to be additive to the content, because people are okay with that. Like I look at skateboarding, right? So skateboarding is very countercultural, but the mark of a good skateboarder is like, oh yeah, my buddy's a skateboarder. Well, how do you know if he's good? It's like, oh yeah, we sponsored. It's like, so you're literally saying like, oh, if you're a good skateboarder, if you're a sellout, right? But that's okay in that world, because the brands are additive to what they do. It's understood that the brands enable that. So for example, the way that we've positioned, say like, car company in our show is like, it's not like, okay, here, let's just throw a bunch of car stuff and have it be a car commercial all of a sudden. It's more, no, like, you understand that our audience understands that a car racing sequence, a car flip, car jumps, cars explosions, things like that cost money to do. So that's just it's not coming from nowhere. So we always position that as the brand is helping us create cool stuff. It's not about, okay, we're going to help this brand do something. The brand's helping us do something cool.
And what are some of the ways, going back to your fans, like, because they're such an important part of your success, like, what are the ways that you stay connected to them? Like, how do you engage with them?
There's so many ways now. I mean, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, comments.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have a lot of
It's
tool
everywhere,
sets.
yeah.
You know, it's like, we'll do audience surveys and pull a statistically significant sample size from our audience and get a sense of what's working, what's not
Yeah.
working, what do they want to see, and I think there's a danger in being a slave to everything that your audience wants to do, because then it gets in the way of sort of what you want to do, and also then it starts to affect
Yeah.
what you're doing. But having that insight is very helpful, and that's also
It
a
is.
deeper insight that you could get than from a lot of different sources.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to have that and be reactive to it.
yeah, like I use Google Analytics to help me see like, okay, what videos are doing better, what are my audience liking, what are they disliking, and it really helps move you towards the right direction, because it's true, like you don't want the audience to dictate every single content you create, because again, you're going to be a slave to the machine. I mean, you're an artist, you want to be able to be creative and also be a leader. They're your followers for a reason, so you still have to lead. But I also think being a leader, you should also listen to what your followers want too, and lead with them.
I think we have some time for some questions from the audience. Yeah, please. I think, is there a microphone here? Yeah?
Thanks. My name is Nimrod. I'm from the UK. I would love to have your YouTube password for 1 week. See what happens. And my question is about YouTube. I keep uploading videos of me and Rob Lowe doing water sports, and it always gets taken down, even though it's HD. Why is that?
We'd have to take a look. I don't know. You and Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. We'd
Depends
have
on
to
your
take a look.
definition of the phrase water
Yeah.
sports, I
Yeah.
guess.
What does that mean?
Just us like spreading.
Yeah.
Hello, that's a question to Michelle. You said that you work not only with cosmetic or beauty or fashion brands, but also with such brands as Toyota. How does Toyota help you to create cool stuff? What do you do with them?
Well, they gave me a car to use, and I was doing a really cool, I don't know if you guys know about Vocaloid. So in Japan, Vocaloid is a hologram singer. It's a singer, but they're not real. It's a hologram singer. And
Thanks, Japan.
yeah, it's... and you can write your own lyrics, and she sings it for you. So it's crazy. Like her as a hologram, she sells out way more tickets than some of
Human
the
beings.
singers that you see today. And I created a look, inspired by her, and Toyota was my car that I drove. And it was also the official car of the Vocaloid, Hatsune Miku. And so that's how, you can create authentic, genuine content, and it still works with my videos, and also the brands are happy too. Toyota was so happy with the video, and my fans were happy with it. And so I think, again, like you just have to be genuine and authentic about what you create. If it doesn't work with your brand, then, just pass it along to someone else.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Marcel Rykov Berlsman. Looking forward 3 years from now, what do you do, what you don't do today? What can we expect if you go forward building your brand also on YouTube side? Is there something, 3 years from now which is even bigger, which you think you can do at that time, besides growing your brand affiliations, growing all that?
I can jump in from the YouTube side to start and then kick it over. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I think from our point of view is interesting is that, there are people on the YouTube platform like Michelle and Freddie who have massive notoriety on the platform. And if you're a millennial, you know these guys really well and you love their content. But a lot of our creators are not known more broadly in mainstream, in mainstream media or in mainstream pop culture. We think that is going to change. We think that 2 to 3 years from now, the stars of YouTube will be the stars, period. And they're going to rise up and they're going to be driven by the millennial consumer base, who frankly, let's admit it, they're not watching TV anymore, right? They're using YouTube as their primary platform. They're using over-the-top platforms to view all their content, and they're going to propel creators like Michelle and Freddie to a totally new level in the next few years. So.
I know for myself, what I'm focusing more on is bringing talent under my wing and mentoring them and growing their brands. So I'm launching my own MCN this fall, and instead of aggregating thousands of channels, I'm really hand-selecting the most talented people that I can find and creating a boutique MCN where I can build power brands behind them, because I believe in quality over quantity.
Right.
Michelle, you're a new kind of celebrity. How has celebrity changed, or how is it changing?
Oh gosh, I think just the term celebrity has changed over the course of 10 years. I mean, anyone can become a celebrity now. I mean, look at Instagram. People can literally get their 15 seconds of fame. And that's, I mean, I think it's a broad term. I mean, I think it's very objective, celebrity. Is it someone famous? Is it someone famous that has talent? Is it someone, you know, it's so broad to me, but I think, I'm not, like, both Freddie and I, we were talking about this last night over dinner. We both agree, like, you know, we're not in this for the celebrity status. We just want to create, we want to share, and we want to interact with people who are like-minded like us.
I think you have a lot more niches of celebrity. You can be YouTube famous, you can be Vine famous, you can be Instagram famous, right? But I think when you say niche, you usually think of a very small group of people. But I think nowadays when you say niche can mean millions and millions of people, but still 10 million people might be completely unknown outside of, say, another country, or it's not sort of worldwide celebrity. So you're looking at the long tail of celebrity almost, where certain degrees of notoriety of individuals who represent a much larger sort of reach than they could traditionally without internet and tools and things like that, but it's still not considered mainstream, still not, you know, like my parents don't know anybody else, right? But it's like, it's one of those things where it's still a significant group of people that they hit. You're gonna have more and more of that, I think, as time goes on.
All right, well, please join me in thanking Michelle and Freddie for being here today.